to be good, you have to have a certain like personality profile. It's just a different brain.
They want to
fun.
They want to go along though. That's the thing.
You come to me with a baseball bat banging on the ground, threatening me. You've just entertained me.
This holiday season and this new year, you were celebrating presumably with relatives, or I hope you were in some sort of a social setting, having a good time, hopefully thinking about the good things that the new year would bring about. But were you, as you were doing so, were you actually a non-playable character in the video game? That is to say, are your actions just automatic? Are you a kind of a sheep, somebody with a herd DNA who hasn't heard yet what politics and what life and philosophy is really about? If you've heard about these things from somebody like Mike Cernovich, a public intellectual we're lucky to have still here on YouTube, then that's one story. But if you just continue with your merry way, consumerism, your political beliefs that don't match those of Tim Cook or Mike Cernovich, you are a sheep. You are a non-playable character in a video game. And your whole life is just this empty journey through pixels. You are a herd animal. You are basically something that we should look down upon. And these are the sentiments from Mike Cernovich that really have captured my attention and captured my desire to do a little constructive criticism of this guy.
Yeah, but it's like you watch a Nature Channel. I'm sure you're a little kid and you're like, hey, why don't these bison just all kill the lions? There's like 8 lions, there's 1,000 of them. And then that's the Western education model, though, that teaches us that we're like tabula rasa and everything. And some people just have herd DNA, or like the other day I said, like noble DNA.
NPCs.
Like there's some people like me personally, where it's a little different now that I have kids, but I would have just like, okay, like I've been threatened and stuff, it's like, okay, like I don't give a shit, right? Like I just don't really care. I would rather not live in indignity.
Yeah.
But a lot of people have different kind of DNA.
Michael Cernovich, my dude, literally has badass DNA. He just said it. Like what separates my DNA from his is this kind of a nobility that his DNA has. It's amazing what one learns from him. I mean, other people with other DNA, of course we're going to be non-playable characters. Of course we're going to not believe in demons that control the world like Mike Cernovich does. Yeah. Oh yes, stay tuned. Stay tuned for that stuff.
And they'll deal with the indignities. So, how do you solve the problem? Well, the way you solve the problem is always courage is contagious, virtue is modeled. You do it. Elon does it. Other people do it. I try to do it whenever I can to show people, hey, like, at least for now, nobody dies, right? Like, you're not going to die if you say these things. And if you have a little bit of money saved up, how much more money do you, like, the bigger problem I have, maybe, because we all have our biases, is I know guys with enough money that you can live off the interest.
Yeah.
And they're just such fucking pussies. And you're like, dude. And they're like, oh, but I could be worth more. It's like, dude, you're a fucking pussy. You're already rich.
I just wanted to say really quick, a lot of people are disconnected from the spiritual aspect of this existence. A lot of people's pineal glands are calcified. A lot of them don't have that larger connection that makes them kind of connect these dots saying, hey, we have one life to live. We are one kind of energetic source. Why lower your vibration? Why be in a position where you regret and do really awful, horrible stuff? As of course, all of this like superficial stuff is meaningless. So without that spiritual, without that religious connection about who you are, your karma, your judgment, a lot of these people don't have any of that, and this is why they're able to make these kind of cold-blooded decisions, saying, "I'm going to get money. I'm going to live in the pleasure centers of now," instead of the larger kind of gratifications of eternal life and greatness of doing good in this world.
And of course, when we're talking about the greater vibrations and the higher path in life, we are, of course, talking about starting a bunch of third-rate YouTube channels and eagerly waiting for Joe Biden to die. So you can then say, we told you so. That is the high vibrations that I'm getting from the screw right here. of world changers.
Maybe that's why I've become less of a conspiracy theorist over the years, because I've met so many of these people who are pulling the strings, and I find them pretty like banal. And
Yeah.
I've learned making money is a skill in itself.
Yeah.
That you can learn, because I had to learn it myself, but it's completely unrelated to being an interesting person, to have moral courage, and I just, these guys I want to meet, and I was like, man, what a waste of my time.
You could tell on an energetic level, they're usually very dense. They're usually very superficial. There's not a lot in there that is actually interesting or worthwhile. I could see that you definitely have a spiritual connection to all of this. I think a lot of people in this who are in the right reasons do, but I also think there's a lot of controlled opposition. I think there's a lot of people out there who are willingly or unwillingly subverting and hurting us.
I always like to hear the input from Tim Pool's designated chakra guy. He always kind of talks about the winds and the energies, and about how the central channel is always closed except in, rare situations. I think that the Young Turks need a guy like that to, go from to really put it in the words of, the vibrations and the energy, and the low vibrations and the high vibrations. I mean, this is what really connects me to Tim Pool in a way that doesn't, for example, to Ben Shapiro or somebody like that, who just doesn't operate on such a spiritual realm. It's not necessarily that I disagree with Cernovich about the fact that, some rich people are boring. But the list of people of whom Tim Pool, Mike Cernovich, and the chakra guy, the list of categories of people of whom they are above keeps growing and growing. It's like a very low-key conversation about how awesome these guys are. If nobody praises you, you might as well praise yourself a little bit, or maybe more than a little bit. But that's kind of what stands out. It's just kind of sitting there together and praising themselves more and more by criticizing others.
When you mention that some people are just herd, genetics or whatever, whether figurative or literal, non-player characters, they're not interested in being a character in the story. They're interested in being the innkeeper you talked to one time.
Yeah, or they're more easily seduced by like trinkets. That's like another way that people can kind of, like what I'm wearing this is from Costco, right? So I've had people try to seduce me kind of like with trinkets. I'm like, dude, I don't.
Somebody please seduce Mike Cernovich to the dark side with a nice Target shirt.
Shiny rocks and colored paper.
Yeah. I remember early on in my kind of like early come up, where people are like trying to understand you, to manipulate you.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm not putting on a front, dude. Like I don't want like the car. I don't want the Lambo. I don't want the like. I just don't care about these things. And they're like, no, I got to really figure out what your agenda is. It's like, I don't know, dude. Maybe I seem kind of fucking crazy to you, but I have an agenda actually of truth, or at least trying to fight, demonic forces.
The important thing to understand here is that when Cernovich is talking about demonic forces, he is being literal. He is talking about fighting literal demons. And he is kind of like an exorcist type priest moving around, spreading his blessings and his red pills to people. But at the end of that red pill is the idea that there are literal demons who are fighting for the fate of the world with somebody else and Cernovich. So this is very intense here, and when we talk with Cernovich, we don't throw away the word demonic lightly. We're not talking about Nancy Pelosi. We're talking about something way, way, way more evil and sinister.
Let me tell you, so several years ago I was hanging at my friend's house, and she has a golden YouTube award for one of the OG ones, the glass and everything, for 1 million subscribers. And at the time I had like 100K. I was still waiting to get my silver medal, and I was thinking to myself, looking at that, like, how do you get to that point? Like, how the fuck do you get 1 million? I was like, I don't think I'll ever get a gold plaque or whatever. Now I have 3, and we use one to keep the window open because we use it as a window stopper. And there's probably a lot of people who are like, that's so messed up, man. I wish I could get to that point. But I think one of the issues for me, one of the things I learned is, you're told these things are great, these are accomplishments, and you want to know what that's like. And then for me, at least, I get there and I'm like, it actually wasn't all that all what what it was all cracked up to be, and it was cool. But maybe it's only because I got it that I just don't care as much anymore.
The first one's cool, but like, I mean, honestly, I still like the platinum plaque. I haven't actually hung up yet. You know, like when I got my first gold, it was cool. You know, the second one, you're like, okay, but then like
Right.
it's like
They never sent me mine.
Being a conservative seemingly is supposed to be about being connected with the average guy, you know, being connected with the average person and not being a snob or an elitist or something like that. I think that what Tim Pool has said about getting these awards is kind of fucked up because there are so many people, so many little YouTubers for whom it would mean so much, and his kind of like this blasé thing about using one of them for window holder or whatever. It's just, I find it to be kind of obnoxious. You yourself have lusted after that thing, you know, so once you get it, I mean, remember the other people who are desperate. And just remember how lucky it is to have a job where you talk into a camera, and that's actually a job that brings you like hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's very few people are that lucky in life, and so I think you should kind of acknowledge these things and not be kind of an obnoxious douchebag who, you know, uses the fucking award to hold the window or whatever he said. I myself don't really put enough effort into this channel to really have any dreams connected to it, really. So I'm not speaking for myself, but you know, I do think that it's sort of like ungrateful about the lucky position you are in life, where you can actually make money as a YouTuber. You do come off as a douche saying what he said, I think.
Again, which is why why sometimes I'm called controlled opposition, because I've just been exposed to enough people who are so-called pulling the strings. I'm like, oh no, who's ever pulling the strings? It's not these guys. It's not the people that we're allowed to talk about.
Yeah.
So the limited hangout aspect of Epstein is you're allowed to go, is he Mossad? Maybe. Well, maybe he's CIA. Maybe he's this.
But who did he really work for?
Whoever he's working for is a level above that.
Yep.
That we don't know.
Yeah. Absolutely, 100% correct. Nail on the head there. And there's a bigger power structure here. It's not Epstein masterminding everything. He essentially was a middle person for someone else, and that's scary and that's terrifying.
Yeah, maybe a lower person for someone else. You know, like the scarier element too is he could be a low-level guy in whatever is going on.
Well, I believe it's literally
Yeah.
demon. Like, I mean, just I don't care. I literally believe it's demons.
Demon possession.
Yeah, I know.
specifically. Yep.
I just believe that there's an evil force that some people are able to access, or that are in league with, and but that's at the supra
What is it?
level of
No,
and
they
what is it?
they open themselves up to possession, and they literally get possessed by these interdimensional species and beings, and then they become.
now we're
become
getting
evil. No, I mean, Mike, you're absolutely right.
GMT.
You're absolutely. This is another level here. I don't know how deep we want to go here.
I feel like
but you're absolutely right.
figuratively or literally, it does feel like people are possessed sometimes.
Figuratively or literally, Tim trying to restore a bit of sanity there. We started to drift away into a different kind of a dimension, all of us. In fact, the reason why Tim always wears a hat is so that interdimensional beings can't enter his body through the crown chakra. That's the reason. That's the reason why we see what's going on here, that you might imagine to be male pattern baldness or something like that. There's an interdimensional kind of an explanation to everything that goes around with that show. What comes around goes around. And I see Jeffrey Epstein, I see the YouTube awards, I see different clothing from Walmart and so on. We will not be tempted by trinkets. I, for one, for those who have been watching my channel for a long time, have known that I do believe in at least one intergalactic lizard, and that has been beamed here from the mothership to spread quote unquote philosophy. So I'm not really too far from these beliefs. But I don't know, there is a certain kind of a lightness of the soul that I feel when I heard that. Because it's like now there's nothing to argue with. There's nothing, not that I argue with people's politics anyway. But now there's a kind of, you believe in demons. Isn't this cool? You know, like we don't have to, I can now ask what kinds of demons you believe in and what exactly they do, and you know, like there is just no kind of a need to argue anything. There is no need to, you know, get flushed in the face and whatever. Not that I do anyway. I gave up on arguing anything. But there is a kind of, it's demons, right? It's demons. There is so much literature of demons from the Middle Ages, and so you kind of wonder if they're connected to that folklore. It's demons, dude. It's demons, bro. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You know, I guess this is the end of the video, and I just want to wish everybody a happy late New Year. And I hope that things go great for you this year, and that there are no obstacles and no demons in your way. I hope for a demon-free year for you. So thank you for watching, and have a great day.